Hello, it's been a while. The 94th Academy Awards are this week, which means I've spent the past couple of months catching up on some of the nominees. I haven't quite seen all of them by the time of editing this video, but I do try to make it my goal to watch at least half of the nominees before the ceremony. This year was probably the most accessible yet. Most of the nominees at the time of the announcement were already available either in cinemas or via streaming, which I think works really well in the Academy's favor for trying to increase the viewership. Although I can't explain the decision of having Amy Schumer as a co-host this year.
And Steve-O is here. Steve-O, great try. Steve-O! But I truly am, no joke, sorry for the loss of your friend Ryan Dunn. I know you must have been thinking it could have been me, and I know we were all thinking, why wasn't it? Thank you.
Fuck you, Amy!
Now, most of the big nominees released in New Zealand during January or later this year. Drive My Car has only just been released, though it's through preview screenings. It actually doesn't officially come out until the 24th here, just a few days before the ceremony, so some people better move quick. I'll be giving my quick thoughts on each of the Best Picture nominees that I've seen, the categories that each film is nominated for, and then a quick rundown of some of the other subcategories as well. First up is Belfast, which I thought was whatever. I didn't have any real strong opinions on this other than I liked how short it was. A brisk 90 minutes. It was pretty easy to watch, but nothing that was that gripping to me. I thought most of the performances were fine. I thought that the cinematography was fine too. I don't remember what the score sounded like, and this isn't really the movie's fault, but I did happen to watch this sandwiched in between Come On, Come On and The Worst Person in the World, two movies that I had been anticipated for a while that made for better viewings that day. This feels like one of those mini placeholder entries in the Academy's ballot that they just kind of throw in. There's plenty that I wish took its place instead. It's nominated for 7 awards, and I tragically don't see this winning any of them.
Go now. Don't look back.
Coda, as of recording this, I have not yet seen. The film is available on Apple Plus, and I have heard nothing but great things. It has 3 nominations, and they're pretty decent categories. Don't Look Up was one of the easiest and probably the most accessible movie of the bunch. It has a great cast that was the core marketing push since the announcement of the film, and it released in December for everyone. I kind of hold it on the same record as most of McKay's recent works. They're pretty fun and entertaining to watch. Similarly to Aaron Sorkin, though, they become quite repetitive after a while. This is essentially his 3rd drama comedy that he's made in a row, in which political satire takes the front stage. I didn't think that this was as offensively bad as most other people have been, but I'm also not really willing to defend it.
Then we're all going to die! Hey.
Well, the handsome astronomer can come back anytime, but the yelling lady, not so.
Not so much.
It has the standard 4 nominations that I was expecting this film to receive. They're pretty close to the exact same nominations that his other movies have received, and overall I feel indifferent.
There it is! Giant comet! Whirling its way towards Earth! Can you see it?
I can't! My head is in a bag!
Drive My Car was the most recent movie of the bunch that I watched. It is available to stream on HBO Max, and while I enjoyed my time with it, I wasn't as in love with this as the general consensus seems to be. This is your standard whopping Khan epic with a runtime of 3 hours, and it's entirely set on people talking. I watched it in 2 parts, which actually really helped out a lot because the pacing of this movie makes it feel like it's perfectly segmented nicely so that you can do that. The opening credits don't appear until 40 odd minutes into the film. The runtime does pay off, and you're left with a lot of time to reflect on things as the story progresses, but this is probably the toughest movie to watch. I'm not all that familiar with Hamaguchi's previous works, but from this it seems that the main draw is from the writing more so than other filmmaking techniques. He's been known in the past to make these sprawling 4-hour plus long epics about characters talking, but I'm still left unsure if I would want to visit those after this one. It was a very peaceful watch, and while I may sound negative, it was still very memorable, and maybe one day it'll just click with me. The film has 4 nominations overall, which is really great to see more international films receive these higher prestigious nominations. This is the 3rd year in a row now for Best Director at least. I wouldn't feel too bad about this winning any of its nominations.
だから今毎日とても楽しいです。
Dune was my most anticipated movie of the year, and after seeing this epic beast 3 times now in cinemas, it's safe to say that it is very high in my ballot. I really love when the Academy honors at least one big gigantic blockbuster to just sweep all of the technicals, and I'm sure that this is the ultimate winner here. I'm interested to see if Part 2 receives similar treatment or not. Dune was everything that I wanted it to be. I've been a fan of Denis' work for close to a decade now, and if you're interested, I have already spoken to pretty great lengths about this some months back. Dune holds 10 nominations total, and I wouldn't be disappointed at all if it won any. I would love to see this take home the Cinematography Award, Production, VFX, and Costume. I'm not sure if it really has the best screenplay, and I am quite biased in viewing this as Best Picture, but again, if it wins, then that is equally amazing. It's disappointing to me that Denis wasn't nominated for Best Director over, say, Kenneth Branagh, but what can you do? King Richard is the last Best Picture nom that I have yet to see. Nothing against the movie at all, but I just feel like I've seen Will Smith play this role before, and back then he was running for the Oscar campaign, and he's running for it now. I tragically missed this on HBO Max, but I've heard only positive things. The film does hold 6 nominations, including screenplay and an editing nomination, so it clearly has a lot more going for it. Licorice Pizza is probably my favorite of the nominees. I was excited at the announcement and waited all the way until the official New Zealand release in January. I loved every second of this, and I hold it very highly. Paul Thomas Anderson has been a favorite filmmaker of mine since I was in high school, and he could very well be the best working director. The film only has 3 nominations, and I think it should have definitely bagged Best Score, Best Editing, and Best Actress. The biggest snub this season for me is Alana Haim not having a nomination for acting. I'm hoping that this at least wins Best Original Screenplay. It's his 5th nomination now for writing, and I'm hoping that this is finally the year that he gets one. 11 Academy Award nominations and still no win for PTA.
Roll sound. Roll camera A. Roll camera B. Mark it. Action. I'm coming, Nancy!
Nightmare Alley was a film that I was also very anticipated by. I really love Guillermo del Toro, but I wasn't that impressed with when I saw it originally. Over time, I've come to appreciate it a little bit more, but I still don't really hold it to as high a regard as I really wanted to. I think I was just disappointed that this wasn't another del Toro fantasy movie, but ignoring that, the movie is fine. I don't love the runtime solely because I feel that the first and second half of the movie feel very different from one another due to a drastic location change and a time jump. I was more invested in the carnival story at the beginning, even though the second half is narratively more interesting than the first. I wasn't as engaged as I'd hoped to be with the story, but the way that the movie plays out with its gorgeous production and cinematography, it doesn't make this film boring in any way. The film feels very similar to me of Last Night in Soho this year, being a film that was created by someone that I really admire and wasn't in their traditional wheelhouse. As much as I appreciated that, I wasn't left impressed with either, and I didn't find a new favorite. The film has 4 nominations. It could be the winner of production and costume. I think it would be cool if this got screenplay, but I'm personally not rooting for it.
When does it end? I want to know.
If you displease the right people, the world closes in on you very, very fast.
Power of the Dog is the big Oscar lead and current predicted winner, and I couldn't disagree. This is a very well crafted film, and everything about it is to an exceptional level. It took me far too long to watch this, since I believe this was one of the earliest releases of the bunch, but nonetheless I adored every second of it. It has excellent pacing with performances that were just mesmerizing. I loved how, as bad as everyone had made Benedict Cumberbatch's character out to be, I wasn't informed to what degree he goes to being a prick. I thought it was very refreshing refreshing to see an antagonistic character like this exist as solely a manipulative bully rather than an outright evil person. I can easily see this taking home just about everything it's been nominated for, with a whopping 12 nominations, including all of the big prestigious awards. I'd love to see a clean sweep here and this film take home everything, but I think that the definites are Best Actor, Best Director, Best Picture, and hopefully this time if Jane Campion wins, she can give a much better speech.
Lonesome place out here, Pete. Unless you get in the swing of things.
West Side Story is the last Best Picture nomination, and another film that I just absolutely adored. I was completely floored with how great and stylistic this looked to best recreate the 50s. The production is great, the cinematography is gorgeous, with some very impressive shots all throughout. Directors directing large groups of extras is an enthralling sub-element for me that I'm always left completely floored by. Spielberg tackled this musical for the very first time in his career, and it has me hoping that he will consider doing more. This felt as good as early Spielberg work, as though he has been doing this for years. Had me completely engrossed all throughout, and it would have been perfect if this motherfucker wasn't in it. The film has 7 nominations total. The role of Anita is famously an Oscar-winning role, so it is likely that Ariana DeBose could take home the award, but I also think that this has a pretty good chance of cinematography, production, and costume. Who knows? So my biggest predictions are that the Best Director will go to Jane Campion, Best Actor to Benedict Cumberbatch, Supporting Actor I'll probably go Cody Smith-McPhee, Actress to Kristen Stewart, because it's the only one from the actress category that I've actually seen. I'd say Ariana DeBose for Supporting Actress, Paul Thomas Anderson for Original Screenplay, and probably Power of the Dog for Adapted Screenplay as well. Tragedy of Macbeth for Cinematography, and Power of the Dog for Best Picture. Which then leads us to the subcategories, so I will try to keep this quick. The biggest absences in my Oscar viewings appear to have been Coda, Lost Daughter, and Flea, all taking up a good hefty amount of nominations, and they are all movies that I would love to see. I've heard nothing but great things, and I'm sure that I'll be very impressed by eventually. So it looks like I've got some homework to do before the awards ceremony. As mentioned, I have only seen Spencer from the Best Actress category, and I really fucking loved it. I loved it so much that I'm disappointed it wasn't nominated for anything else. I thought that Johnny Greenwood's score was excellent here, probably better than Power of the Dogs. I thought that the cinematography was really great here as well, and I also thought that Pablo Larraín did a fantastic job directing. I have only seen this film of his. Jackie has been on my watch list for years now, and if this was anything to go off of, I can say that he is likely to become a new favorite of mine. I thought Kristen Stewart was good, not great. I have no doubt that there are probably other performances in the nominees that I think would be better, but Kristen Stewart was still good enough for me to enjoy the idea of her winning. Tragedy of Macbeth was also a favourite of mine. I wish that this took Belfast's place instead for just about everything that movie was nominated for. This movie deserves far more than what it was nominated for, but still the categories are nothing to scoff at. The movie is breathtaking and mesmerizing to watch. I loved just about everything that Joel brought to screen here. He's been one of my favorites since I was a child, so needless to say, I was very impressed. Denzel was really great. I would love to see it happen, but I don't think the Academy sees this as being better than Benedict. Maybe I'm wrong. Tick Tick Boom was a pretty fun one, another big popular one that people were talking about. Andrew Garfield was really great in this, but I'll watch him in just about anything, so I think it's good. It's really cool that he's been recognized as an actor again, but I didn't have many strong feelings on this one. Lin-Manuel Miranda is going up against Billie Eilish and Beyonce in a race for the EGOT status for Best Song, so we'll see what happens. He's not nominated for Tick Tick Boom, he's nominated for Encanto. I was just bringing that up now. Cruella was nominated for Best Costume and Makeup. The movie fucking sucks. It's probably the worst thing that's on here. I can see it winning for Best Costume though, but I don't have any strong feelings on this at all. Best Animated Feature Film category. I predict that Flea is probably the best one of the bunch. I haven't seen it. I really want to. It looks great. Just like every other animation Twitter fan, I've seen all the other films nominated, and I haven't seen the foreign one. I think that Mitchells and the Machines was probably my favorite. I like that one the most. It's definitely going to lose to Encanto. I'm not going to be surprised when it loses to Encanto. Luca is the worst movie on this list. I thought it was really bad, and I forgot that Raya came out this year, so also no strong feelings on that one. Great. Best International Feature Film. I have only seen Drive My Car and The Worst Person in the World. I thought Worst Person in the World was excellent. It's one of my favorites of the year. I would have personally had this over Belfast or Don't Look Up nominated for Best Picture, but I would like to see this take home this award. If Drive My Car isn't set to win any of its others, then I think Drive My Car is the best bet on this one. I might as well look at the Best VFX category because, like the animated movies, it's always filled with the same formulaic bunch. James Bond being here is a really interesting choice to me. There's 2 Disney movies here, one that looked the same as previous Marvel Disney movies, and one that I thought looked really bad in some places. But this is the controversial pick here because everyone wanted this movie to have as many nominations as, say, Dune or Power of the Dog. Ridiculous audience views aside, I think that Dune is still the best of the bunch. Free Guy had some really bad looking CG shots as well, actually. I'm surprised that Eternals wasn't picked here instead of, say, Free Guy or Shang-Chi. It may have looked off at some points, but Eternals was at least more interesting visually than almost all of these movies. I thought Matrix Resurrections looked better than most of these for its VFX. Matrix Resurrections was my favorite movie of 2021. There, I said it, so it's likely some bias talking, but I would have had this over some of the other films listed in this category. That about does it. I haven't seen many, if any, of the shorts or documentaries. It's hard enough watching the Best Picture nominations in New Zealand, let alone the international pictures, so my apologies to those creators. I do try to catch up on these over the year, but it isn't exactly easy. There's a few movies that I think that the Academy missed this year that I would like to talk about briefly. Come On, Come On could have easily been won for directing or performance. Sparks Brothers was the only documentary that I saw in cinemas this year. I found it to be very engaging. Suicide Squad had some really great costumes all throughout, as well as really nice VFX. Annette was also a great contender for most of these awards. I could have easily seen this listed under cinematography, for costuming, for editing, but definitely for original song and score. The Last Duel was Ridley Scott's best movie in a while. I would have really liked to have seen it get a writing nomination or some production. Shiver Baby had a really great original script that was very funny and very nerve-wracking. Green Knight was gorgeous and could have also received a best cinematography nom, but I would have also put this forward for best director and screenplay. Candyman was really pretty to look at, but also costuming, again, stand out for me, possibly the VFX as well. T-Tane was a very memorable experience, like none other, and I guarantee that you haven't seen anything like this either. It's not surprising in the slightest that this was missed from the International Picture category, but still, would have been pretty great to see it listed here. As I mentioned, The Matrix Resurrections was my favorite movie of the year, but I don't see how this wouldn't have been considered for the same nominations the first film received in 1999. Best sound, VFX, and editing could have all been thrown their way. Finally, The French Dispatch was just as good as previous Anderson's works. The amount of effort that him and his team put into these movies is stellar. Production, score, screenplay, and cinematography, easy. Hefty year, a good mix all up. It's much better than the 93rd Oscars, a lot actually, but it isn't as good as the 92nd awards, I feel. I look forward to watching this silly little 3-hour long award show every single year. Thanks for taking the time to listen to a stranger talk about movies. I appreciate it.